I'm calling the Minister of Justice of Sieralyon, please.
Your Excellencies, colleagues, ministers, and high-level representatives, members of the Supreme Council of the Judicial Power, the Presidency of the Public Prosecution, other stakeholders present here, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I bring you greetings from Sieralyon, a little country on the west coast of Africa. Let me take this opportunity to congratulate His Majesty the King of the Kingdom of Morocco for his vision to inform this International Justice Conference, and to the justice institutions who together have organized this conference for inviting Sieralyon to share our perspective on the role of justice and law in improving the attractiveness of the business climate and investment incentive. Permit me to register my gratitude for the warm hospitality we have received here. As the Attorney General and Minister of Justice of my country, Sieralyon, I am delighted to be part of these deliberations, and I believe we have a few examples we could share on actions we have taken to improve our laws, judicial and administrative processes, and the use of technology to provide a sound business climate that will attract and protect investment in Sieralyon. Excellencies, colleagues, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, in terms of investment regulation, we have the Sieralyon Investment and Exports Promotion Agency, SLIPA, which by law has primary responsibility to facilitate registration of businesses, assist investors in obtaining permits, certificates, or clearances needed for commencement of business. It provides information to potential investors on matters relating to investments, and it assists potential investors in identifying joint ventures in Sieralyon. We also have in place a public-private partnership approval procedure for investors seeking to partner with the government to undertake a venture or project. Here, the courts have not been able in Sieralyon to effectively address disputes arising under this framework, especially on how to assess the broad public interest clauses and the scope of administrative regulatory agencies with quasi-judicial powers conferred by law. Another mechanism in aid of facilitating efficiency in the business environment is the Corporate Affairs Commission, which regulates the incorporation and registration of companies to do business in Sieralyon. This commission operates an online portal to facilitate registration and regulation of corporate and business firms from anywhere in the globe. Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, in relation to judicial dispensation of justice, we have established a fast-track commercial court and streamlined processes for doing business using technology solutions to provide investors with speedy and efficient dispensation of investment disputes. We have also worked to provide a more reliable business environment by the Chief Justice making the selection of justices transparent and merit-based, and they cater for expertise in specific areas of business law by advertising the positions and ensuring that the selection process is transparent. We have further recently also established an investment board, which is chaired by His Excellency the President, Dr. Julius Maada Bio, to assess the merits of large-scale investments that is to be made in the country, such as to receive appropriate and efficient approval processes and/or support. Delegates, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, our experience tells us that innovation, technology, and the use of data is imperative to understand the problem of delivering justice in investment regulation and in investment disputes to foster a sustainable business climate that is attractive for investment. True innovation might include technology advances, but it also requires us to rethink our approaches to delivering justice in courtrooms as well as the tools we use. This is desired because, as we know, law does not always deliver justice, and justice does not always require law to apply. We are therefore planning to open a Justice Innovation Center, which will enable the Ministry of Justice to use technology and data to inform policy making on access to justice and the appropriateness of current legal frameworks, and to help us understand how investors can access justice and how judges deliver justice involving investment issues. It will also gather data on regulatory compliance mechanisms in selected sectors to avoid future disputes. This will include data on the use of alternative dispute resolution mechanisms, such as mediation, conciliation, and negotiations, which the courts are mandated by law to apply as a first-stop measure when investment disputes arrive in court. But we could do more to update our laws on evidence, to allow for the admissibility of electronic evidence and representation, and the conduct of remote hearings, and for service of processes through web-based and other digitalized technology. We also need to address the current paper-based court registries that crawls the judicial process. Excellencies, delegates, ladies and gentlemen, we in Sierra Leone view justice as a tool for economic development to lift our country from its least developed country status. In this regard, we take a human rights-based approach to investment, which emphasizes that all rights, obligations, and responsibilities under investments are protected. We tested the veracity of our commitment to a rights-based approach in doing business to protect investment on the one hand and the public interest on the other by hosting a side event at the margins of the UN General Assembly last year. The recommendations from the event required us to address the promotion and protection of foreign investment, end exploitation of our people, and curb corruption and bribery in business through effective, accountable, and transparent institutions. Our government is taking steps to implement the recommendations by way of reforms to enhance the effectiveness of the business environment and for attracting credible investment. For example, it was recommended that there is clarity in the law and state policy on access to land for investment, especially for large-scale mining, agriculture, and energy projects, and entitlements in relation to ownership or use of land to protect both rights holders and business enterprises. This is because the legal regime in my country relating to land tenure is not uniform in the country, falling both under formal and informal customary legal regimes. In this regard, we are taking measures to demarcate public commercial lands for business and investment processes with clear rights and certainty of tenure for investments. We are also setting up lands tribunals within the Ministry of Justice that will investigate the discretion in awarding public lands to ensure certainty and predictability of tenure to avoid conflicts between investors and rural communities. Excellencies, heads of delegations, ladies and gentlemen, fighting corruption is a vital part of ensuring a viable environment in which investment can yield both for investors and for our societies. Without transparency and accountability mechanisms for investors, government officials, judicial officials, and other interest groups, corruption could flourish in our legal, judicial, and administrative, financial, and business systems. That is why in Sierra Leone, we have a very robust anti-corruption regime that is designed to hold accountable both corrupt officials and corrupt investors and investments. Let me conclude by assuring you that Sierra Leone has relationships in bilateral, multilateral agreements that have implications for investments, including the World Trade Organization, the World Intellectual Property Organization, the International Convention for Settlement of Investment Disputes, the Economic Commission of West African States, the African Free Trade Area. We have domesticated these agreements and are open to doing business and globally. I thank you all for your attention. May God bless your deliberations.